Hey YouTube, just got back from Jason's place. I'm now in Iowa City and I'm at Wetherby Park, and this is a new food forest that they put in, I think 2 or 3 years ago. A few of the trees are larger than that, but I think they brought them in. And it's looking really good. I came here for the first time last year and I was amazed by the currants. It was the first time I ever tried those, and amongst other things. So I think I'll show you some of the species that I point out. I don't notice too many of the actual tags, but I recognize a lot of good ones. So there's a lot of pear and apple trees over here that are really getting quite large. They're about 3 or 4 inches in their trunks. It looks like they haven't trimmed them off too much at the top. They're mostly letting them grow to get pretty tall. There's also a mulberry, and I'm presuming that this is some sort of like Illinois everbearing or other sort of specialty mulberry, although mulberries do grow just natively in Iowa. We've got a gooseberry and or currant. It's kind of hard. Actually, these flowers look like gooseberry flowers. So I'm thinking this is a kind of gooseberry, which is pretty cool to see. There's a ton of comfrey. Basically everywhere next to the trees, there's comfrey. So here's a good example behind me. All the comfrey growing. Presumably chopping and dropping. This looks like, I don't know, maybe a pear tree? I'm not really certain what this is. But there's just tons of fruiting plants and fruit that will be coming in. So here's another mulberry, and you can actually see the mulberry fruits forming this early. It's only April 22nd or 3rd, which is pretty amazing. I'm not really quite sure what these are, but they're also flowering, so perhaps a rose of some sort. Comfrey everywhere, pears. It's really cool to see. There's a ton of pollinators flying around. Some creepy Charlie and dandelions and yarrow on the ground. You can sort of see the blanket. So not super good, I suppose, but also not grass, so that's nice. Looks like maybe a chestnut we've got growing right here. That's what it looks like to me. So that's pretty cool to see. I haven't seen the chestnuts actually produce fruit here yet, but within this year, maybe next year, I bet that they'll probably get some. There's a lot of onions that look like they're perennials. The onion right there. I saw some service berries planted over in the far side. There's also some oaks and pine trees, which is nice to give some overstory. And as you can tell, this is a relatively new food forest. Over there, they're actually putting in a new bed. And I remember from last year that the bed on the far side is actually relatively new. They put in last year. So it's exciting to see. This actually takes place, is in a regular park. Over there, there's a play structure for the kids, and beyond that, there's a community garden, a more traditional community garden plot. So this is an extension that I think is a really cool direction that Iowa City's taking. I wonder, there's one in Coralville, or in Cedar Rapids as well, that I actually haven't been to, but I'm guessing this is modeled off of that food forest idea. And the ground is just beautiful. There's all sorts of different kinds of plants. This looks like maybe a type of apple. It has the sort of crabapple looking flowers. Sort of a beat up base of it, but you know, that's par for the course, I suppose. A lot of currants. I think these are the currants that I was actually thinking of that I previously had. And once I made preserves. Oh, there's actually strawberries on the ground too that are just nestled in there. So you see strawberries and currants and onions down here. We got taller trees to give some predator protection and also shade. And the currants are just super prolific. If you look, there's actually already forming, they're forming berries already. I don't know if you can see, but the ovums are swelling up and there'll be a berry forming very soon. So rhubarb over there as well. Different kinds of currants. Judging by the currants, oh, I can't even walk over here because it's just filled with strawberries. So that's really cool to see. Let's see if I can walk through. Yeah, a lot of rhubarb. I see things like bee balm and bergamot. So it's just a really cool place. I'm gonna flip the camera around now and show you some more specific up close, but it's just a really cool park. I'm glad that Iowa City's doing it. So here we have some celery. I know it's celery because I tried a leaf and it's really good. It's very flavorful. Has a lot more flavor than stuff you buy at the store. I'm not sure what these bushes are, but they look something that they're about to flower. Here's a comfrey plant, a pretty large one, but it'll grow very quickly. And you can chop and drop it up to 6 times a year. Let's go to that new section. See if there's anything being planted over there. A lot of rhubarb. So here's a jostaberry, and I can't really tell the difference in terms of appearance between a jostaberry and a gooseberry, which makes sense because there's actually a cross between currants and gooseberries. But I see a tag on it, so I know it's a jostaberry. Now, one thing that I think is a little bit strange is that they put the wood chips right up to this oak trunk. I actually just pulled some back. I think this was a mistake on their part because in this climate you don't want to rot out the base of the trunk. So I'm actually going to kick those off the base a little bit. I kind of pulled it back. This may expose the grass a little bit, and which kind of slightly defeats the purpose of the deep mulching or the deep bedding, but you never want to put wood chips that close to a tree trunk like this because it can rot it and kill it, and that's not their point here. So. It also helps that I'm wearing a hat like this because I think people assume that I'm part of the garden, so no one questions it. The ground, they actually removed this rhubarb flower, which is probably because they want the rhubarb to just bush out more. That's kind of cool. I've seen these flowers before. They'll open up and have little white actual flowers if you leave them. So, kind of nice to see. I think this might be an elderberry. Hard to tell though. Well, cool to see. I kind of walked around and saw how things are progressing, and I'm glad to see that it looks like it's very healthy and they're expanding it. So I hope that Ames does something like this soon.